Okay, welcome back everyone to our people here in person and to all of you that are dialing in virtually today. So as I say, my name is Alan Hoare. I thoroughly enjoyed this session. I mean, this session was about technology in practice. And I thought there was some real messages coming back. I know Sonali talked about, all, some or none. And I thought that there was some real kind of positive messages come back. My first question, if I may just start the Q&A, is to Natalia. I talked about motivation at the very start. So is this Women in BIM, which I think is a fantastic organisation, is it about bringing, which is really important, more females into this industry, and that, building information modelling and tech is smart, it's clean, it's innovative? Is that really the idea behind it? And we have a mic here.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, is this okay? Well, actually, one part is trying to bring them and keep women in the industry, and try to motivate them. And this is a technology industry, so we know that we have some problems to get in there, but we try to encourage them to keep in the industry and keep going and growing. Once they get into the industry, just don't leave the industry because they have other issues. So we try to prepare them, encourage them to be part of.
And the fact that you're in, 40 plus countries is really interesting.
What is really interesting is it doesn't matter the country, all the things that we are struggling are the same. So if it's in South America, in Australia, in United Kingdom, so all the problems that I have heard by meeting those amazing women, it doesn't matter if they are mentees, mentors, they are going through the same issues. So that is something that it's really concerning, because this is worldwide.
Yeah, and actually it's interesting, I'm an educator for the last 30 odd years, and I've seen a big increase in recent years in females entering the industry. Up to 40% of our cohort in TU Dublin studying quantity surveying are female, which is really great to hear, and it's great that there's a platform like yours to talk about. Yeah, just to open it to all of you here today, how do you convince a client about the value of BIM? Of course, BIM was kind of the fulcrum, but the theme of today. But how do you convince them to go all, some, or none? How do you get them to pay? To convince them that BIM is really strategically important for their business?
I think what has worked for us is the sum part, where you don't try to get to do everything at the start. Also, sometimes positioning them against their competitor helps them to buy in that they are doing this, or also you can benefit, maybe do a pilot, that also works. So it's actually a couple of trial and errors that you have to do before. And most important, it's everybody has to be patient.
Yeah, and I spoke about that at the very start, that the government, for example, who are bringing a mandate into the country next year, need to do some pilots. They need to learn the lessons, what they need and what they don't need. Have you any questions from the floor? If not, I can direct the questions to the speakers directly. Any questions? Just put up your hand and we'll get the mic to you. Andrew, you spoke an awful lot about area engagement. Again, I spoke about that as part of that kind of, that collaboration piece. Is this something that you see more in Australasia, in mainland Europe? We talked about the Nordics. I talked about the Nordics. They seem to be more mature in that setting, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's something we see a lot more of, certainly other areas. I think my background before DBM Vercom was on the technology side with Finnish companies.
Yeah.
And certainly it's a more collaborative way of working in that region, and that's one of the reasons why they're ahead in the BIM.
Yeah, well,
maturity.
they're leading.
I think what we are seeing, when I was talking about for example, working much closely with the designers with a much more detailed design. We don't see much of that in the UK at all. Australasia, certainly we're seeing it there, and US, it's starting to happen as well. And I think, something that happened last year, there was an acquisition by quite a large consulting engineer of a steel detailing office.
Yeah.
Because they want to take it in-house now. So they're starting to think about these things. Whereas I think the UK, we were talking about this earlier, still very averse to getting involved with that. It's a reapportioning of the fees much earlier in the process and a change in culture. We've talked about culture a lot today. And I think that has a big impact on it. The contractual models are there, but they're rarely used.
Yes, and I know, for example, in countries like Denmark, they actually have, regulations, they have laws that if you don't work with BIM, you have to report that, and they ask why not. So they actually have, written laws in the country that require this to happen. Thank you so much, Andrew. Now, Sunil, you talked about value a lot. Cost came up so much today. How do you, how can you demonstrate the savings for clients to say, look, if you invest in this today, you're going to get so much value back?
I think a very good question. Probably we have been facing this, for last so many years. In the initial years, we used to attempt putting up matrices and numbers, and if your selling is done based on those numbers, after 6 months, he'll call you and he'll say, okay, fine, you committed this number. Where is this number coming in? So the first thing is setting up right expectations that we're changing the way of working, we're changing the processes, and saving is going to come essentially, from two major components. Most of the savings are a translation of the savings in terms of the time that we get, and that time allows in terms of better decision making, and you have to build up on examples. So most of the time, nowadays I think we don't have that problem anymore where people are yet to be convinced in terms of how to go about things, but when you start with them with small goals, small achievable goals, and those low-hanging fruits where you are able to show them the results. So in first 2-3 months, you set up very small goals, show them, okay, this is working, and then keep building on the confidence to take them over years in terms of, achieving more and more together. So I think that's one approach that I use quite effectively, and it's working as well.
Very good, very good. I was recently, actually this week, on a radio show in the Midlands. We were promoting the BIM Gathering, and I had alongside me Tony Woods of Midland Steel. And there was a company that, he does sort of reinforcement structural steel. And he could see the benefit 10 years ago of modularizing reinforcement and building, sections of foundation, section of the substructure, and then delivering it to site. And we have a major FDI client in County Kildare, I won't name, huge prefab being built. The value that company gave to that organisation was beyond belief. So there was a company who saw the value early. And he said one thing in the interview which I thought was profound. He said, we need to construct less and assemble more. So in other words, we need more, we need to work more like the automotive, aeronautical industries. Okay, we can't fully automate, we can't fully factorize, but the more we do in controlled environments, the more we can get, the more efficiency we can get, and the logistical delivery to site is so much better. So think off-site, think modular methods of construction. Thanks very much. Francesco, we're coming to the close now. I think with Francesco, and I think maybe Daniel might have mentioned as well, Building Smart International. Can we just talk about that a little bit? Because some of you are founding members of Building Smart.
May I answer your question before? Because you said I'm being provocative.
Okay.
You said, how you sell BIM to a client?
Yes.
You don't speak about BIM.
Okay.
You speak about risk management. You speak about getting better, reducing resources, having more technology, more information, so you can get standardization and modularization.
But does the client have to pay more for that?
No, you don't need.
Good.
Why? Because the industry must be at that level.
Yes.
Because you work Until now, we work with the same methods. What is AutoCAD? Is a drawing in a computer. You need to improve yourself. You need to take back to the universities, associations, and others to bring back new ways to do that. The automobile industry is like this. The BIM solves the problem that all the players and all the agents in construction could work in a interoperability platform, because we don't establish the rules as well as the automotive. Because when you have BMW, you can say to your suppliers, you need to work like that, and they work like that. In construction is different.
Yeah, but Brian talked about it, and I know Daniel talked about it. Every project is new. The time team come together, there's a new client, they're at different levels of proficiency. So it's very hard to kind of get almost an industrial sort of process going in that we're out in the elements, we've a new site, we've a new client, we've a new building, and it's very difficult to become as, let's say, smart or as clean or as off-site as other industries. This is the point.
But it needs to be in the guts of each one that works on this project, because the difficulty and the achievement and the way to success is that everyone knows and understands the better way to communicate and to share the information.
Okay.
So more or less like that. Sorry to be provocative.
No problem. I'm sure we could keep going.
But the way to introduce BIM is not say about BIM, it's say about digitalization, innovation, creating more, and having resulting these the lack of skilled people that we have at this moment, because it is a problem. You need to have technology that supports that.
It's interesting. I think we're going to have to bring it to a close because of the time. But certainly I'm a proponent of BIM. Yes, I understand it's digital construction, but I think that's just BIM is sort of sticking there, isn't it? It's like it's not going away. So I think thank you so much for all of your collective presentations. It's been great. As I said at the start, we need to bring an order to this. We need a plan in Ireland if we're to monitor our progress. Thank you also for our visitors who joined us online, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.